let's start with Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries. You know who Hakeem Jeffries is, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So for anybody,
I wish that he was not. Yeah, I wish he was politically irrelevant enough for nobody to know who he was. But unfortunately, we don't live in that timeline.
For anybody who doesn't know, he's our new minority leader in the U.S. House of Representatives.
You know what Donald Trump? He would say, "Minority leader, DEI leader." But
yeah. So essentially, taking over what was essentially Nancy Pelosi's role as leader of the Democrats in the House, and if not Congress. And in terms of, I mean, I never really liked, to be fair to everybody here, I never really liked Hakeem Jeffries at all. He's kind of symbolic to the problem with the Democrat Party in general. But, just starting, looking into how he's responding to Trump, I thought Pelosi and Schumer were bad. Jeffries just seems more feckless than those two. I didn't think that Hakeem Jeffries would be somebody that would make me want to miss Pelosi at all, but I guess I'll play this here. I'll just share this first video here. Let's just freaking do. All right. Do you see it? Oh, you see the wonderful screen? You see the screen, Vista, David? See the mountains? All right,
I do. I see them.
All right. So
they're very seductive mountains.
So this is Hakeem Jeffries being asked about, what should you guys do in terms of Trump and how should you respond? So this is
I think I've seen part of this. It sucks.
Yeah, have you seen it? Okay, so you kind of know what you're looking at.
No, but I'd love to see it again. Yeah. We can't hear it though.
You can't hear. Oh no! You know what I fucking did? Oh, share sound. I'm an idiot. I forgot to click that. Okay, try that again. All right, from the top. Hakeem Jeffries, everybody. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so it's their government, Dave.
Yeah. No, you filibuster the shit out of everything.
Yeah.
It's such a contrast to what happened at the beginning of Obama's term when he had a supermajority, and John Bolton and Mitch McConnell basically had a private meeting where they're like, even if we're politically disadvantaged now, it's going to be our goal to say no to every feature of his agenda to make sure he doesn't get a second term. And that was the level of adversity they were willing to apply to his administration. But of course, Democrats, liberals are extremely capitulatory. So it's just really disappointing. What do you think, man?
It's basically, look, when Obama won in 2008, which you could say was like a mandated election because he won by huge margins, that didn't stop the Republicans from obstructing in whatever way they could. I remember Mitch McConnell, had this private meeting where he essentially said, our goal is to make Obama a one-term president, and it didn't stop them from throwing whatever they could in wrenches into the machine and whatnot. It just, when you campaigned last year about how this election was so important, about how Trump was going to be a dictator and all that, and then, he's in office now, and your response is essentially, hey, what can we do? I don't know. We're trying.
Yeah.
Just send us money, please.
I said John Bolton, I meant John Boehner. But it's liberals have always been really, really spineless when it comes to playing the field, playing the political chessboard. That was the case before the friend that we watched talk right now, but it's even more so the case now that he's in charge. There's somebody shared something, and this is probably going to be my main contribution to what you're talking about now.
Okay.
There was a Daniel Guerin book about fascism and big business that was published in the 1930s. And it was a study of Germany during that time frame. And his quote is, "The misfortune is that we have permitted the bougie Democrats to seize hold of anti-fascism. These gentlemen fear the fascist whip for their own skins, but they fear the proletarian revolution at least as much. They declaim against fascism without taking a single thoroughgoing measure to attack its mere material roots," which really does explain the totality of the proliferation of fascism in the modern era. "And by their economic and social policies," they're referring to Democrats and neoliberalism, "they deepen the causes of friction between the proletariat and the middle classes, and thus they push the latter towards the very fashion which they pretend to divert from." And it kind of also reminds me of how, like, even like when Hitler was detained after his beer hall coup, he spent his entire trial time talking about the economic grievances of the German population. And that's because fascists tend to commandeer populist rhetoric in order to advance their goals. And Democrats tend to not address the material grievances that the population experiences.
But why would they do that when you can be like Hakeem Jeffries and attack Trump this way, which is a great segue into the next video I want to share about
attack him by not attacking him.
This is what he thinks is appropriate, ways of criticizing Trump. Yeah. So it's there.
Captain Chaos and the extreme MAGA Republicans spent last year.
Just for those playing the home game, Captain Chaos is Trump. That's the new name that he has bestowed Trump. He's Captain Chaos.
I know Trump is so much better at like creating nicknames that actually inflict upon his population. Captain Chaos is not going to resonate with anybody. Nobody.
If anything, you're kind of making him a bit cooler.
Yeah, true.
Seriously.
Spent last year promising to lower the high cost of living and running away from Project 2025 as if it didn't exist.
This is absolutely pathetic. Essentially, there was a tweet that I saw where it's essentially Democrats keep pointing to the rule book saying a dog can't play basketball while a dog keeps dunking on them. Like, you got to do more than just be like, well, he said he was going to do this. He wasn't going to do this and he's doing it. Or actually, that's illegal. And then don't follow through on that.
Before it was like in 2016 during that administration, it was always like, this is not normal. And that was like the Democrats' like main like line of attack. Like, this isn't normal. This is abnormal. It's like, that's not going to inflict. That's going to like, that's like, what's like the meme now when somebody has like 100% attack, but like zero damage. Like the Democrats are basically on this treadmill where they're exerting all of this energy trying to attack Donald Trump, but it's like inflicting zero damage because like the things that they're attacking Donald Trump for actually don't substantively challenge what people respond to, like when it comes to who he is. It's like what is it? I think like it'd be more effective like to point out his hypocrisy, like when he was like, "We're going to drain the swamp," or something like that, and then he makes it legal for like federal agents and
unfortunately
employees
it's clear that this council doesn't
bribes again.
Yeah,
it's like, but it's like
this.
It's what do you say?
I think that right now we can't really rely on the main den leadership for any type of cohesive response. And we got to look elsewhere. Now, I did find some that, this is how I want them to respond. So I saw this recently on Twitter. Former Vikings punter Chris Clowey called Donald Trump and MAGA a Nazi movement and apparently was arrested and carried out of a city council meeting by the police. But his messaging, I think, has more resonance than what we previously heard with Hakeem Jeffries here. So this is... Yeah, let me just... Oh, wait. Get out of here, Hakeem. I don't want to look at you anymore. Get out of here. All right. All right, so this is here.
Unfortunately, it's clear that this council does not listen, so instead I'm going to take my time to say what MAGA has stood for these past 3 weeks. MAGA stands for trying to erase trans people from existence. MAGA stands for resegregation and racism. MAGA stands for censorship and book bans. MAGA stands for firing air traffic controllers while planes are crashing. MAGA stands for firing the people overseeing our nuclear arsenal. MAGA stands for firing military veterans and those serving them at the VA, including canceling research on veteran suicide. MAGA stands for cutting funds to education, including for disabled children. MAGA is profoundly corrupt, unmistakably anti-democracy, and most importantly, MAGA is explicitly a Nazi movement. You may have replaced a swastika with a red hat, but that is what it is. I will now engage in the time-honored American tradition of peaceful civil disobedience.
Get out.
Unfortunately, it's clear that this council does not live.
See, at least that has some fucking energy, at least. So
Has some energy. You know, a little bit of consequence is worth the necessary amount of energy it takes to like actually to challenge this kind of thing. Yeah.
And then there's, of course, you know, the Democrats fire marshal who has to always fucking take the reins and never gets thanked for it. Our buddy Bernie Sanders.
Have you? Oh yeah, true. But it's like, have you noticed that like, you know, when it comes to like Democrats, so many of like the prominent Democrats have adopted Obama's speaking style and delivery. Like even when it was Beto O'Rourke and like Cory Booker, like during the debates, they were just doing like their best like Obama impression. And even when it comes to like our new speaker, it's just like it sounds and looks like you're just doing like Obama 2.0 or 3.0, and it's so like ineffective against like how aggressive, against like how combustive and inflammatory this fascist rhetoric is.
People are getting the wrong impressions from what they should take from Obama, and it's not his charisma. You know, Obama was elected on a lot of promises that were never fulfilled. So,
change we can believe in.
Yeah, I mean,
Wall Street instead of Main Street. Amazing.
Anti-war, yeah. And then what happened in that during his presidency? You know, Democrats lose over 1,000 seats, and you know the Democrat Party is like the shell of itself. It just orbits around Obama now, and he still has influence to this day. Ironically,
and his influence was like really deeply felt during many of the past presidential campaigns, including the 2020 presidential campaign, where Bernie was hot on his Nevada caucus.
Just took a phone call.
Obama played the role of like, I get to like, you know, like I'm the king's maker. So, you know, Beto O'Rourke, you know, like Amy Klobuchar out of the race. Just please consolidate.
Get behind the geriatric candidate.
Yes, and it's kind of like, you know, it's like he played the board masterfully to allow for the consolidation of fascism to materialize. So it's another confirmation of what the author from the 1930s was saying, is that like, you know, liberals, they crack down against political movements that can address material needs that are preventative against the proliferation of fascism. Democrats are much better at attacking leftists than they are at attacking, like, you know, fascists. And we saw that play out during our lifetime, during our political lifespans, where the Obama wing of the Democratic Party was very effective at politically silencing the leftist populist movement. And the leftist populist movement is basically oriented around substantiated solutions to people's everyday grievances. It's like we have examples around the world of like leftist economic theory overperforming and giving people the lifetimes they deserve. So, of course, like leftist populism is a lot more easy to defend than right-wing populism is. But Democrats are very, very prolific.
It resonates if you do it right. I mean, this video here with Bernie Sanders they shared on TikTok got almost 10 million views in like a day or something. It was a pretty short span here, but I was gonna blind watch it with you. I was just like want to see like what the hell the hubbub is about, but yeah, all right. This is our boy Bernie, the president who never was.
True.
Yeah. I do not often find myself in the habit of thanking Elon Musk, but I must confess that he has done an exceptional job of demonstrating a point that a few of us have been making for years, and that is the reality that we live in an oligarchic society in which billionaires dominate not only our politics and the information we consume from media, but our government and economic lives as well. That has never been clearer than it is today. But given the news and attention Mr. Musk has been getting over the last few weeks as he illegally and unconstitutionally dismantles government agencies, I think it is an appropriate time to ask the question that the media and most politicians don't seem to be asking. What do he and other multi-billionaires really want? What is their end game? In my opinion, what Musk and those around him are aggressively striving for is not novel, it is not complicated, and it is not new. It is what ruling classes throughout history have always wanted and have always believed is theirs by right. More power, more control, and more wealth. And they don't want ordinary people, that's you, and democracy getting in their way. They want it all. Elon Musk and his fellow oligarchs believe government and laws are simply an impediment to their interests and what they are entitled to. In pre-revolutionary America, before the 1770s, the ruling class governed through a doctrine called the divine rights of kings. The belief that the King of England was an agent of God and he was not to be questioned by mere mortals. In modern times, we no longer have the divine right of kings. What we now have is an ideology being pushed by the oligarchs, which says that as very, very wealthy people, often self-made, often as the masters of revolutionary new technology, it is their absolute right to rule. In other words, these modern-day oligarchs are our kings. And it is not just power, it's incredible wealth that they have. Today, Mr. Musk is worth $402 billion. Zuckerberg is worth $252 billion. Bezos is worth $249 billion. With combined wealth of over $900 billion, these three people own more wealth than the bottom half of American society. Not surprisingly, since Trump was elected, their wealth has soared. Musk has become $138 billion richer. Zuckerberg has become $49 billion richer. And Bezos has become $28 billion richer, all since Election Day. Meanwhile, while the very rich become much richer, 60% of Americans live paycheck to paychecks. 85 million are uninsured or underinsured. 25% of seniors are trying to survive on $15,000 a year or less. 800,000 are homeless, and we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth. Do you think for 1 second that the oligarchs give a damn about working people? Trust me, they don't. Musk's decision to dismember USAID means that tens of thousands of the poorest people around the world will go hungry or die of preventable diseases. But it's not just abroad. Here in the United States, they will soon be going after the healthcare, nutrition, housing, and educational programs that protect the most vulnerable people in our country, all so that Congress can provide huge tax breaks for them and their fellow billionaires. As modern-day kings who believe they have the absolute right to rule, they will sacrifice, without hesitation, the well-being of working people to protect their interests. Further, they will use the enormous media operations they own to deflect attention away from the impact of their policies while they entertain us to death. Mr. Musk owns Twitter. Mr. Zuckerberg owns Meta, which includes Facebook and Instagram, and Mr. Bezos owns the Washington Post and Twitch. Further, they and their fellow oligarchs will continue to spend huge amounts of money to buy politicians in both major political parties. Bottom line, the oligarchs, with their enormous resources, are waging a war against the working class of this country, and it is a war that they are intent on winning. Now, I'm not going to kid you. The problems this country faces right now are extremely serious. The economy is rigged. Our campaign finance system is corrupt. And we are struggling to control climate change, an existential threat to our planet, among many, many other important issues. But this is what I do know. The worst fear that the ruling class in this country has is that Americans, black, white, Latino, urban and rural, gay and straight, young and old, that all of us will come together to demand a government that represents all of the people in our country, not just the wealthy few. The oligarch's nightmare is that we will not allow ourselves to be divided up by race, religion, sexual orientation, or country of origin, and will together have the courage to take them on. Will this struggle be easy? Absolutely not. And one of the reasons for that is that the ruling class of this country will constantly remind you that they have all the power. They control the government. They own the media. You want to take us on? Good luck, they will say. There is nothing you can do about it. But our job right now, in these very difficult times, is to not forget the great struggles and sacrifices that millions of people have waged over the several centuries to create a more democratic, just, and humane society. Think about it. Over the last number of centuries, how many people have stood up and fought? And when they were doing that, you know what their contemporaries said? They said, hey, you want to overthrow the King of England to create a new nation and self-rule? Forget about it. Impossible. You want to establish universal suffrage, right of all people to vote? Impossible. Can't happen. You want to end slavery and segregation? Impossible. You want to grant workers the right to form unions and end child labor? Can't be done. Impossible. You want to give women control over their own bodies? Who are you kidding? Impossible. Can't be done. You want to pass legislation to establish Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, a minimum wage, clean air and water standards? Impossible. In other words, as Nelson Mandela told us, everything is impossible until it is done. In these difficult times, despair is not an option. We've got to fight back in every way we can. We have to get involved in the political process, run for office, connect with our local, state, and federal legislators, donate to candidates who will fight for the working class of this country. We have got to create new channels for communication and information sharing. We have to volunteer not just politically, but to build community locally. Whatever we can do is what we must do. Needless to say, I intend to do my part, both inside the Beltway and traveling throughout the country, to stand up for working families and to take on the oligarchy. In the days, weeks, and months ahead, I hope you will join me in that struggle. We can win, we will win, we must win. Thank you very much.
You know what the Mandela quote that he referred to is kind of like almost like a retooling of the Rosa Luxemburg quote, which is like, and I'm paraphrasing, where it's like, revolution seems impossible until it wins, and then it appears as though it was like always inevitable. And
yeah, I think that's from her socialism or barbarism speech. So.
Yeah.
Or essay,
which is a beautiful statement. It's so true. It's so applicable to every political reality that people have had to basically struggle against. And what he's saying is a lot of what he was saying also reminds me of there was a recent Musk tweet where Musk was like, billionaires are shouldering so much of the financial burden of the middle and lower classes. But I just kind of want to remind people, when it comes to even something like funding for Social Security, every dollar after $176,000 is exempt for people who are millionaires or billionaires. So like what that means is that, when it comes to who's funding Social Security, it's the lower class, it's the middle class, it's the upper middle class, it's the
undocumented
lower,
immigrants.
Yeah, it's the lowest of the upper class. So if we just lifted that cap on Social Security, we would be able to fund Social Security for an undetermined amount of time. But right now, only income that is accumulated up to $176,000 is taxed that contributes to Social Security.
Right.
So anybody's income, $1 million, $2 million, billionaires, they don't contribute anything to Social Security whatsoever. And apparently that's for whatever fucking ironic reason. That's where a lot of Elon Musk's interests have been diverted. But that's also the program where millionaires, billionaires aren't shouldering any of the financial burden, and the lower and middle classes are shouldering the totality of that financial burden. Really interesting stuff.
Because for them, government is just for them to kind of exploit for their own advantages. That's how they see it. If they get taxed more, well, all of a sudden that's not fair. Wait a minute. Oh.
Or if they get taxed at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Let the lower and middle class pay for it. Literally, if we make more than $176,000, none of that additional money we make after $176,000 is being contributed into Social Security, but we're going to be the victims anyways.
Yeah, right.
It tends to be the situation where the perpetrators, the people who are the most exploitative, also present themselves as being
the biggest victims.
Yes, the most victimized, the most persecuted, and that is perfectly and comprehensively personified by Elon Musk, the fucking nepotistic victim that he is.
Yes.
But I don't know. What did you think of that Bernie?
People listen. I think the election last year kind of showed that the liberal way going forward is dead. We gotta stop doing it. It's we have to. There has to be a more positive message that reflects Bernie's politics more. And I hope going forward that a lot of these, feckless Democrats are primaried out. Like we need to grow the squad more. There needs to be a bigger proportion of the progressive caucus. Like that option needs to grow more. And, I hope going through this year as well as next year, there are opportunities, mind you, those opportunities means like a lot of people are going to suffer because Trump's policies are going to be more implemented, but that also serves as opportunity for us to pick up, the victims of those policies, even if they were Trump supporters themselves, like, or that people that voted for him. Mm-hmm. Like that's the path going forward. It's not really, trying to reconcile with the biggest MAGA base. It's really appealing to people that stayed home on election night, that just that aren't, that politically engaged. That's going to be the priority going forward. So, and like these bread and butter issues that Bernie was talking about are essential to that. That's just my take on it. But